leave this reboot behind and talk about a different reboot because, folks, Morphin Time is a flat circle because the Power Rangers are once again getting rebooted. Last week, The Hollywood Reporter reported that the I'm Not Okay With This creator, Jonathan Entwistle, is shepherding a new series of TV and movie adaptations for everyone's favorite Super Sentai squad. Now, this is coming just 3 years after the 2017 reboot, and it's supposedly going to be part of a connected story universe that'll cross multiple platforms. So I'm curious how, I don't know why they can't stop rebooting Power Rangers, because I understand like there's a new Power Rangers series almost every year, but those are part of a kind of like broader continuity because you're incorporating all the Super Sentai footage from Toei and the original stuff. And it has like a loose, like they all feel part of the same universe. But with this, it sounds like they're really starting from scratch. So is the shared cinematic universe model still viable if you're not something like a Marvel or a DC? Rosie, let's start with you on this one because I see you shaking your head now.
I'm mad about the whole thing. I love original Super Sentai. I'm a fan of Power Rangers, even though I do think this all goes back to this problem that Saban had for a long time, and I think Hasbro has too now, where they basically denied any connection to Super Sentai. I watched like a 20th anniversary thing made by some geek website, and it was a big deal, like a documentary. They never mentioned Super Sentai once. They never mentioned Toei once. They basically talked about it as if the people in the show were doing the stunts. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, what is this fake mythos you're building? The main reason that, the cinematic universe tie-in model, it can work, but I don't think it's the most powerful thing. Look at the stuff that DC's been doing that people like the most, Aquaman, that's just completely random, campy magic. Like Joker, I hated it, but people really liked it, and it has nothing to do with anything. I loved the 2017 Power Ranger movie, even though it was not to do with Toei, and I think that was the biggest problem, was no action. But they were such lovely children, and I loved them all so much. They were such sweet, good kids, and the characters were really good, and the writing was good, and they played the Power Rangers theme, and I thought it was on the way to doing something good. But I think it's a toy thing. It's weird because I don't think toys sell that much, and they still sell a lot of toys from the Power Rangers series. But it must be something like that, because I don't get it. I don't get why, if the last one didn't work, wait a while. And if the last one didn't work and it's not to do with Toei, get Toei back involved. Like, people want to see those crazy acrobatics, or cast stunt people, like
they did with the original Mighty Morphin.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
We all have so many Power Rangers thoughts.
Yeah, no. I'm just like piggybacking off of what Rosie said, and the only reason I can think of like they're like all this cutting ties, all this rebooting, is that it feels like it's money reasons. I mean, it feels like it's like, okay, we're going to rebuild with this, so then we only have to pay people up to this point for utilizing everything. Yeah. And it's like, no, don't do that. That makes things bad. It's like, oh, you're already building off of the name for it. Mm-hmm. So just like go ahead and stand on you're standing on the shoulders of giants without giving the giants their due, type of a deal. And it's like, please just share. Please just share that wealth. You're tapping into this fan base that, it's been decades of time being built up to this point. So just like respect that and embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we've seen enough like dead cinematic universes at this point that it's been proven that this model of going cinematic universe first doesn't work. R.I.P. Dark Universe. So it's
Dark Universe.
Yes, it just seems like a failed strategy from the start, and something that is so financially motivated that it's going to turn off any fans who are dedicated to the franchise, because they know that it's just a cash grab, and a soulless one at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you look at, there's a report from a website called The Illuminati, which great name, and the report said that Hasbro's looking to end their relationship potentially with Toei, the Japanese studio that produced the original Super Sentai show and the footage that's been used in every US Power Rangers series for nearly 3 decades now. Now, obviously, that could mean like major changes for the franchise moving forward, especially if that means they have to make their own source material. But I do think that is going to be a huge divide in like what we can expect from Power Rangers past and Power Rangers future. Now, I saw someone in the chat, I believe it was Megalo Blazemon, who says he's absolutely hyped, especially if it's tonally similar to the comics. Now, the Boom Studios comics have been doing some really fascinating stuff, but they're still relying on that old canon. So I'm curious. I feel like they're probably going to go back to the Mighty Morphin Well and like sort of resurrect these characters that were such a touchstone for so many people. But I think that you diminish its effectiveness. It's like with Spider-Man. People were exhausted by the time we got to Tom Holland. And if Tom Holland hadn't nailed it, then I think people would just be burnt out on Spidey. Like, I love Spider-Man, but even I was rolling my eyes when Sony and Marvel were like, guess what? Someone else's uncle died and now he's a Spider-Man. It's the same thing with like, guess what? These 5 teens from Angel Grove have, they found a guy in a tube and now they have cool suits. Like, you have to like establish some continuity. You have to respect the fan base because they are super passionate. I've been fortunate enough, I got to moderate some panels at Morphicon and stuff like that in the past. And everyone I've talked to, they're awesome. They're super passionate about this. They're super passionate about Tokusatsu, about Super Sentai stuff. They care about this and they just want to see something that's good. So, you know, I don't want to knock the intent of the creatives involved because I'm sure they are trying to put their best foot forward, but it's hard not to feel cynical in the face of so many reboots in such a short amount of time. And also, if that report proves to be true, I'm a little worried about what that means for the future of Power Rangers. Maybe it's what they need to succeed in the modern era, but I question it from a fan perspective. So
I think like the whole thing of like who they've chosen to do it. Like, I know everyone loves that show and the comic is really powerful and stuff, like, but it's like gritty white kids. Like, you're taking something that comes from like Tokusatsu. Why aren't you using the fact like that is an incredible property that is just has built-in kind of history, and you can, I don't know, I just feel like it's such a waste to lean away from that. And I also think now people love Tokusatsu. Look at Spider-Man, right? Bringing up Spider-Man again, because what doesn't include Spider-Man? But like, even in Into the Spider-Verse, right, which did something different that changed who the lead was, they had a Tokusatsu reference. You know, they had Leopardon from the original Tokusatsu Spider-Man show. Like, there is space for this stuff to be inclusive and to be reverential. It doesn't have to be like a cash grab of like, let's cut out the original creators and then we'll make like a cool version. It's like, I don't want to see a version where somebody's wearing like a checkered shirt and they're like, oh, it's so tough to be a Power Ranger and they don't know how to do a backflip. Like, why would I watch that? What has that got to do with it?
And it's all cut together from like very shaky cam that is obviously intercut stunt doubles with the actor.
Yeah, exactly, you know?
Yeah, it's just, I worry that it's going to lack the charm of what we've come to know and love, but only time will tell.